and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another monthly wrap-up of all the books I've read in March, and we'll also be having a little chat about all the books I would like to get to this April. But without further ado, let's get into the video. First book of March was Swift and Saddled, which I rated 3 stars. It's a book by Layla Sage. It's the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I actually mostly read this in February, but on the 1st of March I read the epilogue, so technically I finished this book in March. I had a fun time with this, and I think the most of my enjoyment out of this book, I was mostly reading this while at work, so I was like giggling secretly about all of the stuff that was happening into this book, which was fun. I think I couldn't really connect that well to the characters, and I also didn't really love the MMC, which was a little bit of a disappointment, but overall it was a really fun and quick read. I think it's a little bit less than 300 pages, so overall decent book. Next up I read Heir of Fire in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I ended up rating this 4 stars. I had a really good time while reading this. Even though my expectations were a little bit too high, I still had a good time. I especially really liked that the fantasy in this world was finally expanding and we were getting a little bit more world building. And in this book we finally met Rowan, which was really good. Overall, I had a good time with this one. I can't really say that much as well because it's just part of a series, so... And then, just for reference, I'm holding the book. I've listened to A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, the last book in the Eketer series, so far at least. This was like a reread or whatever, because I listened to it technically this time around. But I had a really good time while listening to these. I got all of these on Audible and they're all dramatized adaptations, which is really nice because you get a lot of extra sounds and stuff, and it's amazing. You should definitely check that out. I ended up rating this 5 stars, while the first time I rated it 4 stars. And I think that is mainly because I didn't connect to Nesta. Normally in this series we are following Feyre, and this was the first book in which we followed her sister Nesta, and I wasn't really the biggest Nesta fan. I used to really hate her, but I tried to get into this book with different, not really expectations, but with like a different view of her. I think I've heard a lot of people say these past few weeks that you are either a Nesta or you've been hurt by a Nesta, and I think that's why I couldn't really connect to her, because I really didn't feel, connected to her, like I just said. And I honestly would rather say that I had been hurt by a Nesta than being the Nesta. So that ruined a lot of the fun for me first time around. But this time I tried to separate Nesta from like my real life. And I got to like try to understand her a little bit more. And I really liked the representation of like mental health struggles in these books. And I also really liked how she developed as a person, and it was just a really great experience reading this again. I also have to say, I think I also didn't want to rate this 5 stars because I didn't like how smutty this book was, because this was spicy. It was very spicy and I used to really not like that. I still don't think I'm the biggest Spice fan, but I can enjoy it now, and in the past I really couldn't, so 5 stars. Then I read Queen of Shadows, another book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I also ended up rating this one 4 stars. This was, well, I can't say a disappointing read because I did end up rating it high, but I was really disappointed in the book itself because I had way too high expectations. Everybody around me was rating this 5 stars and was telling me how amazing this was. and I did enjoy my time. I just personally didn't get 5-star feelings from this book, so that was a bit disappointing, but overall it was still a really good book and I did enjoy my time while reading this. I really loved the witches in this book and where their storyline was going, but I can't also really tell you that much about this book either because it's like the 5th book in the series already. So then I actually read a comic from Dead by Daylight, The Legion. I ended up rating this 3 stars because in my opinion there really wasn't that much of an in-depth storyline. I think this is mostly enjoyable if you've played the game Dead by Daylight because you get to see like some of the characters and some of the world and some of the overall aspects that you get to see in the game were in this book as well. The artwork in this book was really good, so that's also why I rated it 3 stars, because the story was a little bit bland, but yeah, it's like, I thought it was like about 30 to 40 pages, so you can't really get much depth in like 30 to 40 pages, but overall it was fun, quick read. And then I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This was actually my first 5-star read of this year. I don't really count any of the manga I've read or any rereads as 5 stars for this year. So for this year, this is my first at the end of March. I think most people already know what this book is about because it got like a Netflix adaptation, but it's about Pip who tries to solve like a murder that happened 5 years ago. So it's like a crime thriller. I think maybe even young adult, I'm not sure. But I had a really fun time with this one. I've already read 2 standalone books by Holly Jackson before, and I loved both of these and I gave both of these 5 stars. So I think Holly Jackson is just overall 5-star author for me. Then I read The Awakening, the first book in the Zodiac Academy series by the Twisted Sisters, and I ended up rating this 5 stars as well. I really can't say that the quality of the book itself is 5 stars and that I would recommend it to everybody, but I got major 5-star feelings while reading it. I couldn't put it down. I loved like the bully romance, paranormal stuff you got into this book, and there just happened so much throughout this book which I really liked, and I got like kind of even nostalgic feelings to this book even though I haven't read this in my childhood. It was just a really good experience in my opinion. Then I went on into reading the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which is Good Girl, Bad Blood, and I ended up rating this 5 stars as well. I think while reading this book itself, it felt a little bit less fun as A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. But I think the ending of this one was just, well, a lot more traumatizing, but also it was just written really well. And I think that also cracked the rating up to 5 stars for this one. And then I listened to Shadow and Bone. I'm just holding this up to make it look pretty because I didn't read the book. I listened to this one on Audible. And I ended up rating this 3 stars. I think I might still reread this at some point, but then I'm going to actually read the book because somehow I could keep my attention to the audiobook, but I think I just couldn't visualize everything really well. I liked the dark aspects of the story itself and it had like Russian influences, I think. But somehow I just couldn't really visualize everything. And I'm a reader who really visualizes everything they read. And with a lot of audiobooks I can't. Sometimes I can, but with this one I just couldn't. So that definitely took away some of the fun of this book. So I'm thinking on maybe possibly even watching the show and then maybe even rereading the book sometime. But for now, 3 stars. Then I also read The Last Bookshop. I can't hold it physically anymore because I actually already got rid of my copy. I also don't want to ramble that much about the book because I ended up rating it 1 star and I don't really like talking about books I don't like. I did leave a really big review on Goodreads, so if you're interested in that, you can read it and I'll link my profile down below if you would like to be friends. Then I also listened to The Inmate by Frida McFadden, another thriller book. I really like to listen to Frida McFadden's thriller books instead of reading them. I can just really keep my focus really well with these types of audiobooks, which I really like, but I sadly ended up rating this book 2 stars. Overall, I was having a good time until the midway point, I think. I also really didn't like the plot twist. It was just not it, in my opinion. So I also wouldn't really recommend this book of hers. And then I ended up the month with a really short novella, The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez. I also listened to this on Kindle Unlimited and I had an amazing time. I ended up rating this 4 stars. This is the first book I've read by this author. She has some really popular romance books which I really want to get to, but I wanted to try out a little bit of her books, and what better way than a short story. So I had a really good time. I also was really impressed by how she could get me to really like the characters and the romance in such a short time. I don't know, she just really wrote the romance and everything really good. I didn't really like the ending that much, but it was fine overall. Then on to the books I would like to maybe read this April. First up is my current read, Ruthless Fae, the second book in the Zodiac Academy series. I am already actually halfway through into this book, so I'm definitely going to be able to finish this in April. And then I would also at least like to read The Reckoning, the third book in the Zodiac Academy series this month. And then I might take a little break, but I'm not that sure yet, because after this one you can't jump into the fourth book. Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I've heard that it's a better way to take a little break after reading the third one and then go to a spin-off series, which is The Ruthless Boys, I think it's called. It's like 5 books, so it'll take me quite a while before I'll be able to get back to the fourth book, so I might as well just take a little break at this point. I would also like to read As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, the third book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I'm already actually craving to read this book, so I might read this one pretty soon. I might also want to read Killjoy. It's the little novella that comes after the series but is still connected to the series, but I'm not quite sure yet if I want to read that in April. And I would also like to read Powerless, I think, by Elsie Silver, the first book in the Chestnut Spring series, because I just want to dive into a little bit more of cowboy romances. And then I would also really would like to read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, and I'm thinking on tandem reading them. I'm still not 100% sure about this, but I am getting a little bit more hyped up lately, so I'm thinking on picking back up the Throne of Glass series. And for audiobooks, I am not that sure yet what I want to listen to. I'm currently listening to Regretting You, I think, by Colleen Hoover. I'm 20% into the book at this point, and I'm not having the best time, so I'm not sure if I'm going to finish that one, but I haven't really looked into any of the other audiobooks I already own and which ones I would like to listen to, so I'll just listen to them. But that concludes my video for today. Thank you so much for being here and getting to this point. If you've read any of the books that I've read in March, don't forget to leave a comment down below and I would love to have a little chat about them. If you'd like to see more of me, don't forget to subscribe and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!